Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I'm going to be going over 10 games you can buy for $15 or less. And not only am I going to be doing that, but I'm going to be putting them all in one single store, so in case on the off chance you actually want most of these, you can just go ahead and check them out, bundle them together. I'm going to throw links to everything down below, and despite the fact that these all will be on Game Nerds, this video is not sponsored by Game Nerds. I just want to do a single site so you can pick and choose what you want. That does mean that there are some fantastic games for $15 or less that I did not choose, because Game Nerds is currently out of stock. Everything here, at least at the time of me filming this, is currently in stock and available. And all these games, well, that's not entirely true. 9 of these 10 games are games that I've played, and the 10th one is one that I'm still fairly confident in. And then I also have these ordered from my least to most recommended, combination of recommended as well as personal interest. And let's go ahead and start it off with technically I already lied. You see, Oriflamme Alliance would be the second of these games that I have not played, but I have played the other 2 games in the Oriflamme system. I played Oriflamme and I played Oriflamme Blaze. I have both of those. I do not have Alliance yet, but Oriflamme is effectively a game of political maneuvering, of playing cards down to try to mess with each other. This is the game that replaced Citadels for me, in the sense that the game has you playing cards down into a card row and then sequencing the abilities, and you're going to be playing cards face up and face down. You're going to be, well, you're playing them face down, but you're flipping them face up or leaving them face down, trying to resolve them, trying to tempt your opponent into hurting you, into killing you, or alternatively actually building up, I can't remember the name, building up coins as you go through the game. But it has a lot of doublethink, plays well, teaches quickly. Oriflamme Alliance for $14 is a great game. I recommend a regular Oriflamme as well as a Blaze as well. Again, Alliance I have not played, but the game has a lot of mind thinking, a lot of little maneuvering, and is a very enjoyable system. And that's going to be my first game, Oriflamme Alliance. Coming in at number 9, we have another game with a little bit of a double think and hidden roles and all that. We have Quest. Quest coming to you from Stronghold Games, if I'm not mistaken, or Indie Board and Cards. For $14.47, you can get Quest, which is the newer version of Resistance, or Resistance Avalon, I should say. And also it takes the game Resistance Avalon and lowers it to a 4-player count, so you can go ahead and have easier time tabling this when you want to. But Quest is effectively a Resistance Avalon, but with hidden roles and a whole lot of abilities and powers and abilities as you try to accomplish a variety of missions, with one player potentially failing those missions, or multiple players potentially failing those missions. Depending on the player count you're playing at, you can have different configurations of roles, of players, all as you try to go on these missions in a game that is based on the original Resistance, which is then Resistance Avalon, which is then Quest. This game has been around for quite some time in various formats and iterations, and for $14.47, I won't say you can't go wrong. This might not be a fit for your group, but it's one that is very easy to dive into and teach, and if you like hidden roll at all, I think Quest is one that's worth looking at. Then we have at number 7, we have at number 8, we have Star Realms Deck Building Game for $12.97. Star Realms Deck Building Game, this is the basic intro to that game. From Wise Wizard Games, Star Realms launched an entire line of Star Realms, of then Hero Realms. They have a lot of stuff going on in this system, and Star Realms is one of the ones I constantly go back to and recommending, assuming you want a simple, easy to dive into deck builder that will give you easy rules, a ton of potential expandability, although that will start costing you more than the $12.97 you see here. But honestly, I think you get a lot out of that $12. I think you get a lot of game in that small box, and yes, you can add to it more, or you can play Hero Realms, or you could dive onto, they have Steam versions where you can go ahead and play them digitally as well if you want to dive into these game systems digitally instead of playing it with an actual deck of cards with 2 players. But Star Realms is just head-to-head deck building. Again, multiple systems, multiple iterations, but you're trying to combine factions, you're trying to build towards whatever your goals are. It is easy to play, it's easy to tail. I remember when this first came out, it was an absolute buzz, and it still holds up to this day, quite a few years later. I don't know how many years it's been now, but quite a few years later, Star Realms holds up as a game that I still easily recommend. And then on the flip side, coming in at number 7, we have a newer one over here. We have My City Roll and Build. My City Roll and Build is not necessarily the newest on this list, no, because the newest on this list is one that's actually a pre-order that you can't get your hands on. That's the one that well, not can't get your hands on, it's harder to get your hands on because it's currently a pre-order. They've had it at conventions. That's the one I haven't played, but that we'll talk about later. But over here with My City Roll and Build, I believe this is the second newest one on the list over here. This is taking My City from Reiner Knizia and putting into a much more accessible format. Well, not necessarily a better format, we can talk about that later, but a more accessible format, a smaller box form in which you're going to be going through a sequence of missions as you go through it. Similar to the original My City, you have these arcs, but differently than My City, you can play each episode on its own, or you can play it as these arcs of 3 episodes and determine the winner at the end of 3 episodes. Even though there's more than 3 episodes, you have them bundled in these little mini chapters you're going to go through as you roll dice, try to build out your city. I find it enjoyable. I think it's a good taste of My City. Honestly, arguably this should be lower down this list, not because of how much I enjoy it, but because for only like $10 to $15 more, you can actually full on get My City, which is, I think, is a significantly better game. I think My City Roll and Build fills that, or it scratches that itch, so to speak, that My City gives you, but it is a little bit on the lighter side and a little less strategy as you evolve through it, but still one that's worth checking out. And again, these systems evolve. They build rules that build upon each other. I think My City Roll and Build is definitely worth checking out for less than $15 from Game Nerds. And from there, that's going to go ahead, and despite I already said this video is not sponsored by Game Nerds, it's not, but my partner of the day is Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is my partner of the day, which is your opportunity to get wireless. Speaking of $15, right now every single Mint Mobile plan is available for $15 or less. Mint Mobile is a service that I use. I've been using this for several months before they ever reached out to me. I started to use Mint Mobile on my own. I saw an ad, I dove into it, and I found that I was able to switch in 10 minutes. I'm personally saving in the range around $35 a month from what I originally paid. I'm currently on the 5 GB a month plan that's been working for my needs, not needing to go over or get more data. But basically for $15 a month, you have unlimited talks and texts on the nation's largest 5G network with various data plans depending on what you want to jump into, although right now even their unlimited plan is only $15. It's easy to switch, it's easy to save, you're going to have great coverage for it. Overall, I highly recommend Mobile. As a user of the system, I generally recommend it as a good opportunity to save money, and make sure to use my link down below so that they know I sent you and all of that, as long as this plan continues to go, because I don't know when it's ending, but it's supposed to already be over, so good luck and jump in on that. But with that, let's go ahead and dive to number 6 over here, which is Marvel Remix. Marvel Remix for $14.97 coming to you from WizKids is a version of Fantasy Realms that for me is my favorite from the systems, although arguably I haven't actually played Fantasy Realms yet. I've played Red Rising, and I've played Marvel Remix. I have not played the original Fantasy Realms, but Marvel Remix is just fun. It adds the Marvel IP, the universe that you know and like, if you're in the universe you know and like. Alternatively, you might be someone who's already mentally exhausted with all things Marvel and ready to be done with it. But if you're not, if you still enjoy Marvel, this is a fast, easy to play game for 2 to 6 players of simple hand management. Just simply playing cards, drawing cards, playing cards, drawing cards, trying to build the perfect hand of cards that will score you as many points as possible depending on how you combine them. That's the entire game. The entire game is simply trying to build out your hand. It plays in 15 to 20 minutes, which makes it easy to dive into. But Marvel Remix for $15 is a great recommendation that, again, stocking stuffer or for your personal collection, is one that I easily recommend. Then we have Targi for $15, $14.47. Targi from Cosmos again. So we have another Cosmos game. This is to My City. Targi, I am constantly surprised at how affordable this game is. To me, this feels like a game that could have been a $30 to $40 game and would have held just fine. But Targi at $15 is just incredibly affordable. And it's a 2-player worker placement game, which you're going to be blocking each other as you place down on this grid. You're going to have a grid of cards, and you're placing down these various resources and these various cards that you're building out into your grid. And you're trying to balance getting more resources, using the various perimeter cards, and blocking your opponent while being mindful as the robber as they wander around the board. Targi is 2-player worker placement in a tactical blocking game. I still need to play the expansion. I do have it, I just haven't played it yet. But Targi, a strong recommendation as well. From there we go to my number 4 over here. My number 4 is one that I haven't played yet, but I'm very excited for and easily recommend. With Dice Veggies for $14.47. This one's coming out shortly. You already were able to get this one at Gen Con from KTBG, from Kids Tables Board Gaming. This is actually designed by 11-year-olds, by 2 11-year-olds from the Josh Capel, Jory Capel, and Rowan Capel designed this game, and it basically involves you slicing up veggies. You have these dice that are going to be slicing. It's diced veggies. You're dicing the veggies, you're pulling them apart while you use those dice to try to fulfill certain goals. It has a visual appeal. It has it's one of those games that just, you see this one set up, you always will want to play it. It's that kind of table presence where you're going to want to play the game. You're going to want to say, oh, what's this? Oh, well, I want to use that knife to separate the veggies out. I want to gather those dice and use them for my own cards while accomplishing the various goals. I think this is going to be one of KTBG's best-selling games if you give it 2-3 years. I just think it has that immediate appeal that makes it the kind of game you want. It makes it the kind of game you gift. It makes it the kind of game you play. That's going to be Dice Veggies for $14.47. Then from there we have over here, coming in number 3, we have For Northwood, $11.47. This might be, I think, the second cheapest on the list. I think these all range from 10 to 15, but For Northwood might be the second cheapest on the list, and it's number 3, and this is just a strong solo game. It's a trick-taking solo game that focuses on card management and hand management management as you try to figure out how you can actually go through a bunch of these kingdoms trying to accomplish these tricks and just trying to get a perfect score as much as possible. I think there's both a solo play in general, and then there's also a little journey adventure book to go through. But I think For Northwood is one of my favorite small box games I found this year. Every year I find some games that I really love. Some of them are big box adventures, some of them are small, tiny little things. Last year I found, I don't know, I'm trying to remember what I found last year as far as small box games. I have to take a look. This year I found Ancient Realm 2. There's a lot of good button shy. Either way, For Northwood, it's a solo trick-taking game that, from what I can see, people have been playing this one, enjoy it a ton. Like, this is one that's not just me. Like, a lot of people have been finding this game, loving this game, recommending this game. I think For Northwood is excellent. It's great. I highly recommend it. And I think it gives you an absolute ton of replayability for that $11.47. Which brings us to number 2, which I think is the cheapest game on this list over here, which is the Crew Mission Deep Sea at $10.97. Speaking of games that are incredibly affordable, the Crew Mission Deep Sea is just so ridiculously affordable. $11 for this game is going to give you a ton of gameplay in a trick-taking cooperative game. We have that commonality. We have solo trick-taking and then, cooperative trick-taking. And the Crew Mission Deep Sea, another Cosmos games. Wow, we have a lot of Cosmos games. Listen, realizing we have 3 Cosmos games at this point in a list of 10 games. Like, Cosmos are putting out affordable, easy-to-play games that I strongly recommend. But the Crew Mission Deep Sea, my number 2 on this list over here, it gives you so much gameplay in that box. It is based on the original The Crew Quest for Planet 9, but this one is just a better version of the same system. It takes all the things you liked about this Mission Deep Sea, but then adds a few more things to it to just make it more easily replayable. I'd always recommend Mission Deep Sea over The Quest for Planet 9, but they are both strong games, both great systems. This is it's just a great, again, for $11, the amount of gameplay you're going to get out of this game. And the nice thing about these games, by the way, is inherently, because of the price point, these are also all small box games. This could just as easily be 10 great travel games as much as it is 10 games that cost $15 or less. Which brings me to my number 1, which is easily my favorite on the list over here, which is Air, Land, and Sea, specifically the Critters at War, because I just prefer that artwork style. Coming from Arcane Wonders for $12.97, again, incredibly affordable. This is going to be another 2-player game that has you trying to outthink your opponent with 18 cards in play. You have 18 cards in the game, 6 cards in play at any given point, and so you know what your cards are. You can make reasonable predictions about what your opponent's cards are, but it's not just about how you play the cards out. It's also about whether you know when and where you choose to pull back, to fold effectively. In the game, you constantly have the opportunity to do an early withdrawal, which gives your opponents fewer points for winning that round of combat, which is essential because 2 core wins. If you straight up power through to the end, all you need to do, your opponent will get 6 points for winning, which means you want to be darn sure that you're winning if you're going to hold out to the end. If you think you have a chance of not winning, you need to evaluate your cards, evaluate what your opponent can play, evaluate how the tides of battle will turn, and then back out early if you need to, which is one of the reasons I love the game. It's not just about the card play, it's not just about the reading your opponent, it's not just about the fact that the way you play your cards, the order you play your cards, knowing what theaters to vie for, all of that has a ton of tactical consideration. But also, it's a little mini game of poker as you choose when and where to fold. You have to know when to hold them, you have to know when to fold them, and that is very much true in Air, Land, and Sea Critters of War. They have this version, they have the original version, they have expansions in both versions. A strong game that I very highly recommend at $13. And that's basically it. That's what we have over here. We have 10 games that are $15 or less. Consider this your stocking stuffer or travel list or whatever list you want. And again, I'll have links to everything down below. All of these from Game Nerds, not sponsored by them, but just so that you can easily, pick a single site to get all of these. That's going to be a list. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.